Hello everyone, so I have here an Alienware 17R2. It was bought a few years ago, and as you can see, there's a strange thing tinge to the entire screen. It's kind of purple. If I open up a browser, for example, and I show you something with a white background, you should be able to notice a slight bit of image retention, a ghosting that appears on the screen. Now, at the time, I didn't know what was wrong with the screen. So you can see here, you still see the Alienware shape and everything. The image from before, all the icons are here. The head of the alien is right there. You can still see the image retained even though I switched to a new window. So that suggests to me there's something wrong with this computer's graphics interface. You know, it could be the screen, it could be the cables connecting the LCD screen to the graphics card itself, or it could be the onboard GPU, the discrete GPU. It could be any number of things. So I did some testing. First, I tried to do a system restore. That didn't help. I tried to look into maybe there was something wrong with the chipset driver when I was going through updates. So I went to the website on Dell and then tried to update all that. Didn't help either. And finally, I thought, you know what? This doesn't seem like a GPU problem. It looks more like an LCD problem. So I did a little test where I wanted to see where the problem was by isolating it. So I took the laptop to a TV and hooked the HDMI onto my computer. Now the HDMI is connected to the graphics card itself, and so any image projected onto that other screen is going to bypass this onboard laptop LCD. And lo and behold, when I connect that to the TV image is perfectly fine. There's no tinge, there's no image ghosting, which suggests to me that the GPU is not broken. It's the screen, the LCD screen, or the connector that connects to the GPU that is the problem. So, and we know that the cable is usually really robust. It doesn't usually break often. So, you know, I tried to disconnect it before, and that also didn't make any difference. So, I thought perhaps that the problem was the LCD screen. So, I went online to laptopscreen.com and I ordered a replacement. I'm going to test it and see if it works. So the way to open this is pretty simple. Now I've already opened it, but all you gotta do is take something like this. This is just a regular card. You can use anything. Just don't use a credit card or anything important. You might break it if you're not careful. And just try and like jam it in between the layers here. Just kind of gently pry it open. Don't use too much force because this is a plastic. And while it's fairly flexible, you don't want to push it too hard and break it because that's also very expensive to replace. And you just kind of go along the edges like that. You know, you'll hear a clicking sound, a popping sound. It's okay, just do it gently. Don't use too much force or pry it too much. Use your fingers occasionally and just go along the whole thing. And eventually the whole screen will just pop off like this. And then you'll see inside that it's fairly simple. There's these four screws here. Now, I've already took off a few, but they're just four tiny screws. You just use one of those small screwdriver sets and take them off one by one. And that's it for this assembly. So I'm just gonna turn the computer off right now, and go ahead and do that. So we're gonna shut down. Now, generally, when you want to take stuff apart like this, the ideal way, the best practice, is to take the battery out. But you know, with these kind of laptops, it's actually pretty difficult. It's not like the old Alienware. It's yeah, you have to disassemble a lot of components. So I just opted to do it directly like this. Just shut the computer off, take the power cord off, and then hope for the best. And it should work because it's just a screen. There's no volatile components or anything. You know, not much power flowing through there. So once I confirm that the PC is completely off, I will begin the disassembly. So we have confirmed that everything is off. I'm gonna take the power off, AC adapter off, disconnect everything, and then from here I'm gonna take the screen off. So there's these small screws that I'm just gonna take off. Fairly simple work. Just be careful when you do it. And make sure you don't lose these tiny screws. They're really small, so they're really hard to find if you drop it anywhere bad. Maybe get a little plastic bag to put them in. Okay, and that's off. And now the entire LCD will just come off like this. Be gentle. There's a connector in the back. You don't want to rip that off, or you're gonna be in bigger trouble. Now, if you look closely here, there's the connector, and that's the only thing that's connected to the LCD. But don't rip it off, because there's actually a little object here, a little latch that actually closes the whole thing. So you want to actually pry this latch off right here, very gently. You can use a tool. I'm just going to use my fingernails, and you can see that this pops right off like this, like a little hinge. You want to be careful with that. That's not part of the LCD, that's part of the connector. And just gently pull the whole thing out. See, it comes off, be gentle with it. And you just take the whole screen out, and that's the old screen. No, we don't need that anymore. So, I'm gonna go grab my new screen. And as you can see here, I got the new replacement LCD. It's brand spanking new. It's even got a little cover on it, which we have to take off first, because we don't want that getting stuck underneath the casing. It'd be impossible to remove. Okay, now that we have that going, again, we flip it upside down. Look for the connector port, which is right here. Flip it around so that it aligns with the other one, and then we just pop this back in. Pretty nice and simple. Self-explanatory. Again, just want to be gentle with it. Delicate components here. And you'll hear kind of like a very tiny click when you push it in. There we go. And then once it's all in, you can just press this little hook down and it'll connect the whole thing. And there you go. Now it's in there. Just confirm it. Now we just raise the whole thing up and put it on here. And we just try and match the holes up as best as we can. And we screw everything in. Now, a general good practice is to screw 1 or 2 screws in and then test the assembly out first. You don't want to close it up and realize, oh no, turns out it wasn't the LCD. Turns out it was the cable or something other they didn't know about. So we're just gonna screw in 1 or 2 screws just to let it hold it in place so it doesn't fall out and break. There we go. Now we're gonna lift the whole thing gently and then test it. And look here, what do you know? Look, it's perfectly fine now. The color is correct, and I'm gonna assume that there's not gonna be any ghosting problems because obviously we don't have the tinge problem anymore. So that is considered fixed. And now I just gotta close everything up, put all the screws back in, snap the lid all across to close down, and we have a fixed computer.